Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm ImBumi, and today we are watching The Man Who Survived for 18 Months on an Island After His Submarine Sank by RealLifeLore. Yes, I don't particularly know what the story is about, but it kind of intrigued me. Aside from like space videos, the ones that intrigue me the most next are conspiracy theory videos and incredible survival videos. I mean, there's just something about having a person survive extreme situations that just makes gets me curious. Let's just say so. We're gonna go ahead and check this out, and hopefully this is gonna be a good one. And well, he survived, so hopefully he got rescued at the end. But yeah, let's go ahead and check this out. So remember, if you like more reactions, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs this year, so hopefully you guys can help me out with that. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
This video was made possible by CuriosityStream. When you sign up at curiositystream.com/realliflore, you'll also get access to really suck. They're usually super cramped, they smell horrible, and you can go weeks or even months without even seeing the sun. They can be claustrophobic to the extreme, and the only thing worse than living on a submarine is sinking to the bottom of the ocean in a broken one. Let's rewind back to World War II, and specifically the Mediterranean theater. The British Navy was fighting for control over the sea with the Italian Navy, but the often crystal clear waters were a death trap for submarines on both sides. Some were bombed from the air, others were attacked by ships with depth charges, and others just ran into mines. There were a lot of occupational hazards, and as a result, 2 out of 5 British submarines that entered the Mediterranean during the war would sink. And usually, whenever a submarine does sink, it becomes a mass iron coffin for all of the crew unlucky enough to be on board.
That's true.
Throughout the course of the war, the British Navy lost 79 submarines, and out of those, there were only 4 successful escapes, which implies that if you went down in one, your odds of escape stood at only 5%. But out of those 4 successful escapes, however,
that is why if I'm ever gonna join the military, if like, let's say for example, World War III finally breaks out, I am signing up to be on the Air Force. I'd rather die like a quick death in an airplane than in a slow sinking coffin like a submarine.
The most fantastic
then again, a bullet is fast
the
too.
known story of the HMS Perseus and the sole survivor on board. HMS Perseus was a submarine that was assigned to Alexandria in British Egypt. Their main objective was to covertly transport supplies to the besieged island of Malta, a strategic British outpost in the center of the Mediterranean. On the 26th of November 1941, the sub left Malta back to Alexandria for more supplies, with the side quest along the way of patrolling the waters of the southern Aegean around the islands of Greece. Unfortunately, at 10 p.m. on the night of the 6th of December, Perseus struck an Italian mine just off the coast of the island of Kefalonia and began to sink. On board were 61 men, 59 of them being crew members and 2 of them passengers. One of those 2 passengers was a man named John Capes, who would somehow miraculously go on to become the sole survivor aboard the Perseus. After the sub struck the mine, Capes was awoken in his bunk inside of an empty torpedo tube by a loud explosion that threw him across the compartment. All of the lights went out. The sub twisted and plunged down into the dark depths of the cold sea before smashing down on the surface 170 feet beneath sea. Capes discovered,
even if I would have escaped that, I don't think I can swim up to 170 feet. I would probably run out of air first. Then again, well, body sink, but I am fat, so maybe I could float fast enough.
That he could still manage to stand up in the darkness, and after rummaging around,
actually, if you have a life vest on you, you can probably float fast enough, as long as you don't get like how do you call this? As long as you don't panic and move around too much to conserve your air and energy, you can probably make it out. That's if you survive and managed to escape.
Discovered a flashlight. Through the darkness and in the increasingly foul air and rising water level inside, Capes managed to find his way into the sub's engine room after passing by the mangled corpses of at least a dozen dead along the way. However, this was as far as he could go because the room on the other side of the door on the far end was already completely full of water. He began quickly searching for anybody else he could discover that was still alive and managed to find 3 other men who he brought together in the engine room. They moved up towards the escape chamber and hatch right above the room where they discovered pairs of escape suits. Unfortunately for them, however, these escape suits were only tested for a maximum depth of 100 feet beneath water, and they only had enough oxygen for that amount of distance. Their gauges were reading that they were 270 feet beneath water, but unknown to them, their gauges were actually broken. They were in fact 171 feet beneath water, but even still, that meant that they would all have to swim that final 71 feet without any oxygen, and they all believed that they would have to swim for 171 feet without oxygen. Nobody in history had ever done that before, and so they knew that they would be breaking the world record attempt up to that point for the deepest ever escape, if they succeeded.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry to interrupt your action. I just want to let you know that if you're enjoying what you're watching, I would like to ask you to please leave a like, leave a comment down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and we are 1/4 of the way there, so hopefully you guys can help me out on that. And that's it. Back to the reaction.
Time and oxygen inside of the sub was running out, so they had no other choice. Capes took one final swig from a bottle of rum, flooded the escape
Of
compartment,
course.
and with great difficulty managed to release the damaged bolts on the escape hatch and pushed the other 3 men out first before he ventured out as well. There was, of course, one other big problem that all the men knew they would be facing though. Swimming up rapidly to the sea surface at a depth of hundreds of feet would be a dramatic change in pressure on all of their bodies, which they knew would likely induce the bends, a state where gases inside of the body start to bubble up. This can cause enormous amounts of pain, paralysis, and even death in extreme cases, but it was either risk dying from the bends or guarantee drowning in the sub, so they all took their chances anyway. But suddenly, Capes popped up above the surface on the cold December night. He was severely suffering from the bends, and the pain he was experiencing inside of his lungs was certainly enormous. But his ordeal was far from being over. None of the other 3 men ever made it up to the surface, so he was left all alone. He did spot a set of white cliffs belonging to the Greek island of Kefalonia in the distance, so he set out and began desperately swimming towards them. The shore was 5 miles away, but somehow Capes actually managed to reach it because he was discovered washed up on the beach and unconscious by a couple local Greek fishermen the next morning. But at the time, the island was occupied by the Italian army, so he was forced to hide and stay underground in his rescuer's home. For the next 18 months of his life, Capes was passed from house to house on the island as he attempted to evade capture by the Italians.
I thought this was gonna be a, like, marooned on an island situation, but apparently not, so there's that. I'm not sure if you can really survive. Well, probably the biggest feat is surviving the bends, being able to swim that far, and like, I don't know what the extent of the damage is, but yeah, that's probably the biggest feat.
He lost 70 pounds of weight during this time, and he even dyed his hair black to try and blend in more with the locals. Finally though, 18 months later in May 1943, after he became the sole survivor of his submarine sinking and becoming a washed-up refugee, the Royal Navy organized a rescue operation. He was smuggled away from Kefalonia aboard a humble fishing boat and taken over to Smyrna in neutral Turkey. From there, he was finally able to complete his journey to Alexandria 18 months later than he had anticipated. And for his heroism, Capes was awarded the British Empire Medal, but despite that, most people doubted that his survival story was true. Capes' name didn't appear on the Perseus' crew list when it departed from Malta after all, and British submarine commanders were previously ordered to bolt their escape hatches shut from the outside in order to prevent them from getting blown off during a depth charge attack. There were no witnesses to back up Capes' story. He had a reputation for being a great and natural storyteller, and his account of events would change over the course of decades following the end of the war. And his claim of escaping from a depth of 270 feet simply made things even harder to accept for most people. John Capes was widely considered to be a liar and an imposter by the time he died in 1985. It wasn't until 12 years after his death in 1997 that his incredible tale of survival could finally be verified and proven. The wreck of the HMS Perseus was finally discovered at the bottom of the Mediterranean that year off the coast of Catalonia, and across a series of dives to it, researchers discovered the empty torpedo tube that Capes had made his bunk in, the escape hatch compartment opened exactly as he had described it, and even the bottle of rum that he claimed he had taken a final swig from before leaving. The depth was confirmed to be at 171 feet, and the gauges reading 270 feet were indeed broken inside. The wreck of the Perseus was found exactly the way that John Capes had described it, which forever vindicated him and his story as the submarine's sole survivor. It's simply tragic that he didn't live long enough to get the recognition that he deserved.
Yeah, that must have sucked after all that. Well, I can kind of get the skepticism from the other people about what he's saying. It is such an enormous feat, especially surviving the vents alone. But yeah, I can get the skepticism. But then again, if I was him, who actually went through that shit, that must have been heartbreaking to hear like your amazing escape just whittled down to being lies.
The of the Perseus wreck in the 90s gave historians all the information they needed to verify John Capes' story. So if you're curious to learn more about what exactly happened the night it sank and how Capes managed to survive, you should check out the full feature-length documentary, The Perseus Survivor, available right now on CuriosityStream.
Alright, let's skip that. Yeah, man. I can't really imagine being in a situation like that, especially on a submarine. I mean, I've always said to myself, I am not afraid of dying. What I am afraid of is how I will die. Because if anything, I do not want to suffer, regardless of whatever method it is. I hope that it will be quick and probably painless, so that I don't have to endure it that long. That's actually one of the things that I fear about when I get into accidents, is that I will be, well, how do you say this? I guess you can say it like I get into an accident and survive and probably disfigured and whatever else the case may be when one gets in an accident. Yeah. It's hard, man. I can't imagine myself going through that, and I don't think I can even go through that if I were put in that situation. That's the difference between me and someone who is great like John Capes there. Was it named John Capes? Mr. Capes, let's just say that. But yeah, still, it is an incredible feat, and I'm glad to hear that he was finally vindicated, even though he wasn't alive to hear it. At least, hopefully, his family and I hope he has children can get the vindication that their dad wasn't lying. So there's that. But that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. If you're new here and enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Again, we are trying to get to 1,000 subs this year, so hopefully you guys can help me out with that. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!